Breaking news. Today, April 10th, 2019, a tsunami hit off the coast of Indonesia, creating an almost repeat of the frightening 2004 Boxing Day disaster. This is your host, Cordelia Waters, back from the break with some more news about the tsunami. It wasn't a surprise that it was located in Indonesia, as most earthquakes are, as well as the Pacific Ocean, because of the Pacific Rim bordering the ocean, that has a large number of active submarine earthquake zones. The first wave hit this morning, but the reason for the occurrence at this point is unknown. However, a major cause are earthquakes. Most tsunamis actually are caused by large earthquakes on the seafloor when slabs of rock move past each other suddenly, causing the overlying water to move. The resulting waves move away from the source of the earthquake event. Another possibility to consider is landslides, which can happen on the seafloor just like on land. Areas of the seafloor that are steep and loaded with sediment, such as the edge of the continental slope, are more prone to undersea landslides. When this occurs, perhaps after a nearby earthquake, a large mass of sand, mud, and gravel can move down the slope. The movement will draw the water down and may cause a tsunami that will travel across the ocean. The third and final is volcanic eruptions, which are less common. It is definite that the Indonesia tsunami was not caused by this. Let's go to Derek to survey the damage so far.
Thank you, Cordelia. A tide gauge has been used already to determine the severity of the tsunami. The magnitude of the 2004 disaster was a 9.3, and today came close to that at 8.8. Unfortunately, there have been many casualties so far, and the total hasn't been tallied up yet. Many of these deaths occurred within large families composed of many children, especially young children, because it was harder for the parents to manage all the children. Many of the elderly population also passed due to difficulty in mobility associated with increasing age and therefore delaying the evacuation of many elderly persons. The third major category is females. Surveys showed that females are more likely to die during a tsunami than males, and this proved true today. However, there have also been other casualties unrelated to these categories. The casualties, however, were lessened due to a technology used to predict the tsunami to a degree. Deep ocean tsunami detection buoys are one of two types of instrument used to confirm the existence of tsunami waves generated by undersea earthquakes. These buoys observe and record changes in sea level out in the deep ocean. The other instrument is coastal tide gauges, which report information to stations within the region. Tide stations measure minute changes in sea level, and seismograph stations record earthquake activity. A tsunami watch goes into effect if a center detects an earthquake of magnitude 7.5 or higher. Because of the early on tsunami watch, an evacuation warning was put out as well. Strong communication is especially important for all citizens in risk to understand the severity of the situation. Many people temporarily relocated to emergency housing equipped with water, food, first aid, and all other necessities. This lessened casualties, injuries, and missing persons, proving it was effective. More details to come. Back to you, Cordelia.
Thank you, Derek. Thankfully, a company called Inspire, which stands for Internet-Based Simulation Platform for Inundation and Risk Evaluation, has been formed to enhance risk assessment of tsunamis. Three main inputs are required: tsunami hazard, exposure, and vulnerability. This in turn allows assessment of vulnerability, tsunami risk on building damage and casualty, and hazard. Inspire has agreed to test its technology free of charge for Indonesia. Today's disaster was so disastrous because of the many risk factors. There were multiple tsunamis, the location was a populated area, the magnitude was quite high, and so were the height of the surges. Derek has spoken to many of the survivors, however, yet they seem to refuse to move. There are many reasons why someone might continue to live in a hazardous region despite knowing the risks. This may be because they have family there and don't want to move away from them. They might also have health problems that restrict them to that one particular place. Or they might not have the financial support to be able to move to a safer place. A shout out to Canada for their amazing support. Although they don't have many tsunamis, they do feel the aftershocks of other countries' tsunamis. The Canadian Red Cross has already managed to raise $15 million. Thank you. Natural disasters are mainly an economic issue. There is immediately a massive cost when tsunamis happen. Rescue teams come into the area and victims of the tsunami need to be treated. Governments around the world may help with the cost of bringing aid to a tsunami-hit area. There might also be appeals and donations from people who have seen pictures of the area in the media. After the initial cost of rescue operations, there is the cleanup cost. Debris from the destruction caused by the tsunami needs to be cleaned away. Damaged buildings that are no longer structurally safe may need to be knocked down. There is also the cost that comes from the loss of earnings in the local economy and also future losses, as the area will be damaged for some time. The total financial cost of the tsunami could be millions or even billions of dollars, and to obtain this money is the reason it becomes political. Negotiating with other countries in order to obtain the money to help rebuild is necessary, as the economy of one country won't be enough. Natural disasters are also an environmental issue because of destruction and potentially irreparable damage. The waves obliterate anything in its path, and it continues for miles. There is flooding in the aftermath. Since tsunamis flood the area closest to the coast, it is likely that diseases such as malaria can also be spread to the stagnant water. There have been many short-term impacts and responses to the disaster: destruction and damage, death, injury, millions of dollars in financial loss, search and rescue, helping the injured, body cleanup, panic and searching for loved ones lost among the chaos, filing missing reports, preparation for funerals. There have been also foresights of long-term impacts, such as repairs of the impacted area, such as rebuilding destroyed houses, schools, hospitals, regaining financial stability, as much of the country's economy would be used on repair, kickstarting the local economy, and increasing the structure of buildings. The vast majority of lives lost or affected by natural disasters are in developing countries. Poverty results in migration to urban areas, usually in unsafe areas. The housing is poorly built and can be easily damaged in the event of a disaster. Countries are not equipped with early warning systems, and they have few assets and a weak social safety network to help them cope with disasters. Richer, developed countries have more resources, meaning rebuilding is an easier process for them as they have the money to do so. There are also fewer casualties, injuries, and missing persons reports because inhabitants have the money to evacuate. There is a saying, rich leave and poor get poorer. This is entirely accurate because when a natural disaster is due to hit, the rich use their money to evacuate themselves, as well as they have sturdier houses, and their family to a temporary safe place, whereas the poor just lose everything they have, the latter of which is what many of the Indonesians experience today. Some final advice to those watching. If you are in a coastal community and feel the shaking of a strong earthquake, you may have only minutes until a tsunami arrives. Do not wait for an official warning. Instead, let the shaking be your warning, and after protecting yourself from falling objects, quickly move away from the water into higher ground. If the surrounding area is flat, move inland. Then, tune into a radio or news station. If a tsunami watch is issued, you should check your disaster supply kits. Some supplies may need to be replaced or restocked. Locate household members and review evacuation plans. If any members of your household have special evacuation needs, such as small children, elderly people, or people with disabilities, consider evacuating early. Secure unanchored objects and be ready to evacuate. Tsunamis are an unwanted tragedy, and unfortunately, they are unavoidable in some places, so this is the best we can do. For more information, see the document link attached below. Thank you for watching. This is your host, Cordelia Waters. We'll be back after the break with Jamie Oliver to learn about healthy alternatives.